think the main thing when me and Ria were looking at the script and working out what we were wanting to, how we were wanting to tell the story, is, although it's such a massive subject matter to do with the Holocaust, that fundamentally the thing that is beautiful about the piece is about the legacy that Dr. Korczak leaves behind him. And really that was something we really wanted to focus on. Rather than concentrating on creating a really period piece, we were wanting to, for the audience to be able to realise that the legacy that's been left behind is still relevant now. So the world is, it's kind of timeless. We don't want to exist in the past, we don't want to exist in the present. It's a real sort of timeless piece. So the idea behind the set, it's a very harsh world. There's no sort of soft edges. It's a pretty harsh environment that all the orphans have been forced into. So the idea of the fencing, the playground, and everything there in the world of the orphanage, it's very harsh. It's all metal, so it will make noises when you bang it. It's not the nicest situation to be in. What makes it a beautiful environment is Dr. Korczak and the way he treats the children, and that's essentially the world that it needed to be. It's not a cosy world in the sense of the environment. It's made cosy because he allows them to be themselves, which is in this particular time they weren't allowed to have any identity. So the idea of the boxes is that everyone's possessions, everyone's life is really in those boxes. They don't have anything to really set them aside from anyone else in the environment. The dolls, they don't have any clothes. They're just bodies. They're representations of the orphans to give them a presence, but they have no faces. And no clothes. They just have the Star of David band on their arm. And the fabric that the dolls are made of are all different. So that's the only thing that sets them aside from everything else. They're in a slightly different fabric. So at the beginning of the piece, we decided that we would have a pre-show. So as the audience are walking in, Dr. Korczak is walking to the back of the set, which is essentially the ghetto. So this is the orphanage here, and the ghetto is beyond. And so the boxes are taken from the back of the set, and they're brought through by Dr. Korczak, and he unpacks very sort of really thoughtfully. He's unpacking the dolls and bringing them into his world, which is the world of the orphanage, and then he places them within the space. So as the audience are arriving, which may take up to sort of 10 to 15 minutes, he spends his time selecting the boxes, bringing them through, unpacking them, and building up the population of the orphanage. What you're seeing here is really the final part of the process of the design process. So the model is the last, well, this being the final model is the last stage before I hand this over to the team of people who will build it. And really, the first part of the process, obviously, is you get a script and you read the script. And what's really important when you start a piece is that you have to be very open. You have to read the words and understand the script, but you don't design it. You're just looking and absorbing the world. So the first thing I will do is go to the director with a very open mind, with the knowledge of the script, and listen to what the director is wanting to really create from the show. I think that's one thing that people maybe misunderstand as a designer, is that that doesn't really come from you, that comes from the director. And then you work with the director and you create something together. It's not you creating something on your own. Once you start to talk about the piece and the direction that it may go in, you then start to do lots of research, which can be well, there's a wealth of research with Dr. Korczak's example. And really that was immersing myself in the world of the ghetto. Although this isn't a period piece that we're doing, everything is based on the real period things. So having a knowledge and having a very specific knowledge of what everything looked like, what it would have been like, is very important, because that helps to give you all your design decisions. So after the research part is done, I present the research to Ria, the director, and then we go through the research and we look at things and work out what's interesting and what's not. And then slowly you whittle it down. Then you start doing a sketch model, which is you build the model box of the theatre here, which is built 1:25 scale. And what that means is if you take this measurement from here to here and you times it by 25, that gives you the size of the real thing. So everything in this model box, absolutely everything. If you take this chair and you measure the height from here to here, if you times it by 25, that's exactly the right scale of the actual chair. Then you start doing a storyboard. Once you've got the rough set together, you storyboard how your ideas might work. So you start with the sketch model, and you just work the whole play through to make sure that every single item that you use ends up being used in the correct way for every single scene. And this is a photographic storyboard. So this takes you through how the scenes will look in each, how the set will look in each different scene. So, and this takes you through the entire play. So this downstage area here on the thrust part of the stage is the orphanage. This is the interior of the orphanage, basically. And the office is all here, so this is all the metal sort of furniture. The rest of the orphanage is all used, they use all these little boxes. So the boxes that the dolls come in, some of them are reinforced so that they can be stood on, sat on. And so, for example, they can put several of them together in a configuration, and you create the dormitory, the boys' dormitory, and the dolls lie on them and go to sleep on them. And it becomes the canteen at one point, so they're used as seats. So this is the orphanage. When you get beyond the metal fences, which are sort of protecting them from the outside world, but they're also imprisoning them within the world. So when you get to the other side, this represents the ghetto, which is a sort of maze of fencing and boxes, just to create landscape. Another little section about the sort of configuration of these is that it's half of the swastika. So when you look down on the set, this section here is half of that sort of the force behind this imprisonment of all the Jews. So that's what divides the two worlds. So in here, in this section here, there'll be a working light hanging from the top here. This becomes the office of Korczak, who's the head Jew. So that's where his office will take place at one point. The climbing frame here is used during there's Adzio and Stephanie when they are wandering to the priest's house through the streets. They actually climb up it at one point, and they end up here, and they overlook the ghetto. Inside the climbing frame, that becomes the entrance to the vicar's to the church. And on the crossbar at the back here, there will be sort of neon lighting in the shape of a cross. So that will glow up when we're in the church. And then there's the smashing of the church windows. And that happens through these big piles of boxes. There will be, Adzio and Stephanie will throw stones at them, and they will literally collapse down and fall at that moment. The other part of the set, which isn't actually modelled up, is that at the very end of the play, when Dr. Korczak hides the diary under the floorboards, there'll be a section of stage here that actually lifts up and the diary will be placed underneath the stage floor. We've not got any windows and we've not got any doors. There isn't really a need to have doors and windows. That they are imprisoned within this world, but there isn't a need to sort of have them. So there's only one character, one actor that will ever leave the stage, and that's the multi-roller. So you've got Dr. Korczak, you've got Stephanie and Adzio, and they always remain in this part of the set. The multi-roller is playing 6 parts. So they will leading into the wings and stage left and stage right to do their quick changes.